Okay, in this video I show how to use pivot tables to quantify results from qualitative data. So qualitative data is data that are not numbers. Like this example here, we've asked some people what is their favorite pizza. And someone said Little Caesars, someone else said Papa John's, someone said Pizza Hut, someone else said Papa John's. So we've got these responses. It's not a lot of data, it's only 50 responses, but what do you do with qualitative data? The only thing you can do is count it. How many people said this? How many people said this? So we're going to generate frequencies, which is the count, the relative frequencies, which is a number between 0 and 1. It's the response divided by the total responses. And then percent frequencies is the same as the relative frequencies, but you show it in percent form. And we can do all this with pivot tables. So the first thing you do, I'm gonna put my cursor somewhere in the data set, come up here, say insert pivot table, and it's going to ask where do you want to put the pivot table. The default is always a new worksheet. You don't have to put it on a new worksheet. You can put it on this worksheet, but I'm going to let it generate a new one. And when that happens, your pivot report gets built over on the left. It's blank right now, and on the right is the data or the fields. So back in our original data, we had one column, one field called preference. So in our fields to choose, we only have one column called preference. And I'm going to drag it down into my rows. And just like that, I know that in my responses, the 50 responses, there were only these 6 choices. If I drag the preference into the values, so I dragged it here, I dragged it there, look what it does. Because it's qualitative data, the pivot report counts. It comes up with the frequency. Let's go ahead and use the right stat term. I'm going to go under value field settings. It says count, but I'm going to say frequency because that's what it is. And if you want to change that, but I'm going to leave that as is. So there you go, that's the frequency. So out of 50, we had 19 people say Papa John's, which is the most popular. I could certainly insert a graph of this. I'll click on that, and then over here build a pivot chart. You want a column, one is fine. A line, probably in this case not so good. A pie, that's not too bad. However you want to display the data, I'll use a column. I'll sort it high to small. There you go. So there's a frequency. Now let's do relative frequencies and percent frequencies, and I'm going to start over. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to start again. You don't have to, but I'm going to go ahead and start again just as practice. Put my cursor somewhere, insert a pivot table. This time, instead of a new worksheet, I'm going to put it on this worksheet. I'm going to put it on this, and it's going to ask where. I'm going to put it up here, and the only thing you have to be careful of is that it drops in the results down and to the right. So if I have something over here, it might overwrite the data. So be careful when you do it on an existing worksheet. But I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll start in cell C2, say OK. There's the same thing it was for, the report. There's the preference. I drag it down. You don't have to put it there. If you wanted to do it this way, you could. I tend to not do that. It takes up more space. Put it in the rows. Drop it in. There's my frequencies. Let's rename it. Frequency. Now let's do the percent frequency. Here's a little trick. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drop the preference in again. Look at that. So now I've got this, and I said, well, why did you do that? It's the same thing. But now what I'm going to do is right click on this one. Right click and then show the values as a percent of the row total. Oh, excuse me, percent of the row of the column total. Sorry. This column, this is the total. Here's the total. So 8 divided by 50 is 16%. 8 divided by 50 is 16%. Equals 8 divided by 50 is that, and then in percent forms. So this is my percent frequency. So now that I've done this, I can go down and rename the value field settings and call this percent frequency. And I don't only want to show maybe no decimal places. I'll show it as a percentage, no decimal places. All right, so now I've got frequency, I've got percent frequency. Let's do the relative frequency. A relative frequency is the exact same number of this, but it shows it in a non-percent form. It shows it like that. It's always a number between 0 and 1. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to bring preference down. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to show the values as a percent of column total, which is almost the same as this one, but now that I've done this, I'm going to, while I'm in this column, I'm going to go down, value field settings, and I'm going to show it as a number, not a percentage, but a number with 2 decimal places, and I'm going to name this relative frequency. Like that. And there you go. That's the 3 things that the book wants you to be able to do. Frequencies, those are counts. Relative frequency is this number divided by this in decimal form. And then percent frequency is this number divided by this in percent form. And you can see these numbers are the same as this one. You can move things around if you wanted to put that one at the bottom. Looks like that. Okay, that's enough information for this video. Thanks.